Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Shaneria and this is Talk and Crime. Good day everyone. Today I have another reaction video, but before we get started on today's reaction, don't forget to join the family and hit that subscribe button. Let's get right into the video.
Product of an affair, right? My dad was married when I was conceived and I never knew him. Like I knew his name. I don't even think I knew he had children, but I met his side of the family at his funeral, right? My mom got word that he had died, and I think that is when I realized, like, dang, that's my dad, okay. But I went to the funeral. Like I said, I was 9 or 10, and y'all, the way that I remember the scene of this funeral, even at this age, is crazy, but at the same time it makes sense because I've been dealing a lot with trying to break off rejection and how I perceive rejection, or even things that's not even really rejection. But so yeah, me at 9 or 10, I remember going to the funeral with my mom, and I always had really bad anxiety, y'all. When I tell y'all, I've always dealt with really bad anxiety, but I remember how bad like my anxiety was this day. We sat like almost in the back of the church, and I remember going up. I can't remember anything about the service, like leading up to this point, but I remember going up to the casket, which I did not want to do. I went up to the casket with my mom, and his wife was sitting in the front row. And I remember her looking at me, and then looking at my mom, then looking at me, and then looking at my mom with this look. And I don't know, I just remember like an outburst, whether she was crying or whatever. I just remember an outburst, and it made me feel really bad. I don't know if I felt bad for her or just bad because I didn't want to be in that situation anyway, and it was just weird. I've always been like very in tune with other people's emotions. Like I feel everything in a room, but I remember how uncomfortable I was, A, with the way she looked at me, and then B, with the outburst. I can't even remember what the outburst was, but I remember I was really uncomfortable. Okay, by the end of the funeral, and you know how people kind of be standing around.
Now, who in the world invited somebody in the family? Somebody in his family was messy because you literally called her and was like, hey, your daughter's father died. I know, like, your daughter is a product of, oh my God, like somebody was messy in his family, because it had to be his family that called. But she has a right to go to her dad's funeral, so
outside, whatever. This had gotten word like, hey, this is his daughter. And mind you, my siblings are older than my mom, so it's not like I'm looking at his kids that are my same age. No, they are older than my mom, y'all. So I remember being outside. It was a whole bunch of like commotion outside, and then I came and I was just kind of tossed around like, yeah, this is his daughter, da 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 da. And I remember every look on people's faces, whether it was like his brothers, even my siblings. For the most part, I feel like most of the siblings were, A, they're dealing with the death of their father, and B, y'all got this little girl coming up saying like the day of his funeral, like that's y'all little sister, and they're just supposed to process losing their dad, and this little girl sitting in front of them, like being introduced as their little sister, right? So I remember how uncomfortable that was. But for the most part, I will say, I got some of them that was looking at me like, oh my God, she looks just like him, oh my God, and they were crying. Like, it was a weird time. But then I remember one sister in particular, she was like, well, she's gonna have to get in the family car with us. And I remember somebody was like, well, if she get in a family car, I'm not getting in a family car. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't. Like, I rode with my mom. I didn't want to get in the car. Yo, I didn't even want to be there, but I didn't want to get in the car anyway. But I remember somebody being upset about that. And I remember hearing a whole bunch of things like, well, who is she? Like, where does she come from? I remember all of this, y'all. So, after that, they go to the repast. We were at a house, and my mom kind of left me by myself. So I was left to hear like all the chatter, like all the chit chat. And I remember how uncomfortable I was, like these adults, again, keeping in mind that I have 11 siblings. It's 11 of us total, and just being tossed around, and I felt like a piece of something. I didn't feel like a person. I just felt like something that people were just kind of gawking at and trying to figure out. Like, it was extremely uncomfortable. I never told my mom like what that felt like or how that made me feel, because I was by that time used to like holding in, my emotions or whatever. But I remember, I don't know if my mom left. I honestly think she left. Yeah, I think she left, like, in whatever. I think she left, but I remember just kind of being tossed around, and I didn't like that feeling, right? I had this one.
I could never, ever leave my children to a messy situation like that. Like, girl, what? What? Okay.
This one sister in particular that would, like, she worked really, really hard to build a relationship with me after the fact, and you could tell it was like really genuine. Like, she would pick me up on weekends, and mind you, like I said, she's probably like the same age as my mom, so it was almost like going to a second mom. It didn't really feel like a sister. Her daughter, which was my niece, was older than me and got pregnant. Like, it was just weird. It was weird. I was a great aunt at like 10. But anyway, so she would pick me up like in the summertime, and you could just tell it was really genuine. But after a while, like, we would go to family reunions, and again, I would deal with the same like issues of people just, I don't know. I feel like my sister worked really hard to try to shield me from it. Like, she was hoping I didn't notice or hear conversations, but at the same time, like I said, I would feel everything, like people's emotions, like people's vibe. I don't know if it's like vibe or energy or whatever, like that greets me before their words do. So you don't even have to say nothing. I immediately can feel stuff around people. So I remember going to like the family reunions or any family function. It was just always this weird thing. I would always get like love from her, but then when you introduced me to somebody, it just felt really weird. Then it was another sibling that worked. Okay, so she would be mad if this one sister picked me up for a weekend, and she'd be like, you always get her, why can't I get her? It was never, I don't know, it just made me feel like an object to be passed around and shown. And then when she had me, I had to call everybody and let them know I was with her, and then people would come over just to see me. Like, it did not feel like a way like, oh my God, I'm just interested in building a relationship, where it was older people just looking and trying to pick me apart, like at a young age, y'all. And I hated it. Like, I would literally sit there all day hoping my other sister hurry up and pick me up. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't feel like she don't want a relationship. It felt like she just wanted to pass me around or show me off like an object. It was extremely weird, y'all. So fast forward, I kind of lost touch once I got older. Like I said, this was like 10 to maybe 13. Once I got older, I stopped just going around, just because, I don't know, it just didn't set right. I just felt like I wasn't comfortable with that side. And now that I have a choice, I don't have to, I was dealing with my friends at school on the weekends. Like, I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to deal with that, whatever. And then there was one situation where I was just like, yeah, I'm kind of good. Other than Facebook or other than social media, I really wasn't communicating with anybody, right? Fast forward, y'all. 2 months ago or so, my mom messaged me, because I'm not on any social media but here, pretty much active anyway. And my mom messaged me and was like, hey, your niece reached out and said that your sister is having a 50th birthday party, and they really want to see you. They haven't seen you. And I'm like, I didn't even answer the first day, because my mind was like, no. But me at this point and trying to grow, I'm like, all right, so maybe I should, show up for people, not be so distant. I'm a very distant person. Like, if it's not my boyfriend and my kids, I'm not really with it. But I let it sit for a little bit. Then I was like, all right, I'll go. And y'all, as soon as I came in, I seen the sister that I was saying, like, just felt genuine, and like, I was happy to see her. I was almost in tears, honestly. But then I got to the table with his siblings, right? And his sister was like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. You look just like me. Da 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 da. Then I got to his brother, and his brother was just looking me up and down. Every time somebody would say, hey, this is your niece, he would mumble under his breath like, no, it ain't. I wish y'all stopped saying it. That ain't. Da, 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 da. And the whole time, like, the sister this is the same sister that would make me feel like an object. She was steady, like, trying to talk over him, like, hey, this is your niece. Y'all remember Niecy? Da, 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 da. And this man every time would say something like just so ignorant, y'all. And I'm steady, like, I'm grown now, for one. Well, I'm about to run out of time, so it'll be a part 2.
The whole situation messy. Mama shouldn't have never left her at their house when she was younger. She felt uncomfortable. Of course she felt uncomfortable because she knew she was a product of her mother and her father together when her dad was married. So of course she felt uncomfortable, but why is y'all wanting her around if y'all don't think she's your brother and y'all acting weird? And then when she get grown, like she goes to the 50th birthday party and y'all still messy and weird. Like that is very uncomfortable, but she is brave because now that I'm Adele, I would have look, if you don't think I'm your niece, that's fine. But you don't have to say all of that. You don't have to be, shysty, disrespectful, or try to be funny. Like, I'm not even here for you. Like, I would have said that, but I understand she wanted to keep the peace. It wasn't his birthday party, and she just was genuinely wanting to be there. So, that is just like a sticky situation.
Okay, so part 2, and let me rewind a little bit because I have to emphasize that leading up to this 50th birthday party, my stomach was in knots. When I tell you, I think I knew probably like maybe 3 weeks in advance, right? And this whole time, every time I think about it, like my stomach would hurt. Like, y'all, I was literally getting physically ill even thinking about attending this party, and not even because of whose party it was. Like I said, I felt like that particular sister that we were celebrating was worth celebrating, but just the thought of going back into that atmosphere, not knowing who was there, not knowing what I was going to come up against. But my mom was so adamant, y'all. When I tell you, she was so adamant about me going to this party. And again, to remind you that I never explained to my mom why I stopped dealing with them. My mom just blamed it on, like, she knows that she has a distant daughter. I barely talk to anybody, so she half the time got to tell people like, yo, I barely hear from her, so you can't take it personal. So I never really explained anything. I never told her that I felt like I was just being rejected, that I was uncomfortable. I never said anything, but at the same time I felt like I couldn't say anything. And mind you, another reason why it made it hard for me to kind of adapt to being with that side of the family was I grew up thinking somebody was my dad. Like, up until what, I think like 7 or 8, I was attached to the hip to this man that I thought was my dad. He left, right? And then once he left, I don't know, then once finding out that that wasn't my dad, it was like hard to wrap my mind around that that's not my dad. I love this man, even though I shouldn't, because I later found out like he was a monster. That wasn't my dad. And then wrapping my mind around that his kids that I grew up with wasn't my siblings. Like, that was something I was processing as a child, and I didn't know how to process that. I didn't know how to like go to his kids because nobody told them. It was like it was left up to me to go to his kids and say like, y'all not my siblings. Like, I just felt like I didn't belong anywhere. But so that kind of gives like more detail of why it was really hard for me to adapt. Not just the rejection, but just like I was already in a space of not feeling like I belonged anywhere. Like, I didn't feel like I belonged. Anyway, like I said, leading up to this party, I was physically ill to even think about going back in that atmosphere, having to face those people. It doesn't matter what social setting it is. I'm always going to have some sense of anxiety. I don't like being in settings, but especially, y'all, when I tell you, even getting into the parking lot, it reminded me of being a child. Like, when I was a child, I used to have really bad panic attacks to the point where my mom would take me to the hospital thinking I was having an asthma attack, but I really could not breathe. And when we got in that parking lot, it just reminded me of being that, like, 9-10-year-old girl. I was just like, Mom, I don't want to go in here. When we pulled up, I'm looking at all the cars, y'all. I literally was about to lose it. I was like, Mom, I don't want to go in here. And mind you, my voice is trembling. I'm 36 years old now, y'all. My voice is trembling, and she's like, see, you need to go. We just gonna go in and out. You'll be fine. And I was like, that's when I had like this outburst, and I was like, I don't like being around them. I don't like feeling like an object. I don't like it. And I couldn't even express myself. But that was the first time she, I guess, kind of witnessed that. Like, mind you, she knew I didn't want to go, but she also, like I said, she would just blame it on the fact that I'm a distant person. I don't like, I don't like those type of settings, period. But yo, I was already in my mind back to being a child, like dealing with the rejection, dealing with everything. But anyway, where I left off was, I got to the party, and like I said, I seen a sister whose party it was, and I was emotional, like just looking at it. I held her, and you know how you distance yourself from a person, and then when you embrace them, like I said, I feel things from people. So as soon as I held her, I felt like I was robbing myself of feeling that love. Like hugging her, I just felt like a overwhelming love. Like that's how I know, even as a child, her part was so genuine, y'all. Like it was crazy. And I felt bad. I'm sorry. Like I don't know, whatever. But then going to, like I said, the other sister came, and she immediately just wanted to show me to people. Like immediately wanted to show me to people. So like I said, I got to the table with the aunties. I have this one aunt who she's always been cool, and she was the one that was like, oh my god, you look just like me, da 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 da. Then I got to the brother, and he just kept saying like smart stuff under his breath every time somebody would say something. But like I said, I went back to this childlike state where I forgot that I can defend myself. I don't want to cause a scene, but it's like any other time, y'all, the stuff that he was saying, every time somebody would say like your niece or da da da, and he just steady saying like, that ain't my niece, I wish y'all stop saying that. Yeah, that's what y'all say. Any other time, y'all, I'm gonna go in. Like I'm going to go in. But I immediately just went back into this like shell of just and my stomach just started hurting. I sat down, and mind you, again, my mom's here. She's dancing on the dance floor, y'all. Like I was so uncomfortable. But I still didn't even say nothing to my mom then. I just sat down and kind of went in the corner. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just stay here long enough so my sister can see me. And I showed up, whatever. But I'm ready to go. Then my sister sat down and was like, hey, you need to be going to your uncle, this same uncle. He has these really big barbecues, da 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 da. Like we have a great time, and you need to go. By the time the uncle was walking over, he was like, nah, she ain't. Y'all. And then I finally told my mom, like, Mom, he keeps saying smart stuff. Like she's having a ball, like on the dance floor, mingling, and the whole time I'm sitting here feeling like I am dying, y'all. And again, I'm a very, like, I'm with whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm with whatever. My temper is crazy, my mouth is crazy, but during this time I could not defend myself, and it was so weird. All right, so I got in the car, then I just finally just blurted out everything. Like that's why I didn't want to go. I should have just went with my first mind. Like I was just going off. I got home, and mind you, my daughters was sitting there waiting for me to get home to see what was happening, because they knew I was already like dealing with anxiety going to this event. And I'm explaining it to them, y'all, and even at 36 I'm holding back tears, because I'm immediately reminded of like the rejection, and I'm just telling them like the stuff that he said, and I'm mad. I'm showing them, they're just seeing anger, but I'm feeling myself like deal with all of these emotions again. Like, yo, the rejection that you feel even at this age, like you let that get to you. And I was even mad, like you let this man get to you, whatever. Like, why do you even care? You don't deal with them, no way. Anyway, so once my kids went to sleep, y'all, I'll call my boyfriend. My boyfriend, of course, was pissed off, like, yo, I'm so glad I didn't go, but you good? And I'm like, yeah. And again, I'm used to showing people anger, but baby, when I got off the phone with him, I bawled. When I tell you I bawled, y'all, like a baby. I was immediately going back to that little girl whose first dad left her, and she was left crying for him. And then the other little girl that was dealing with meeting this whole new side of a family, trying to process having a whole new family, and knowing that people weren't accepting you because of things that were outside of my control. Like, it was a long night. I was really upset, and I was really mad that I let myself get that upset. And then afterwards, like, everybody gave me their number. I'm used to people giving me their number, and y'all act like in front of people like, oh, we gonna keep in touch, and then you just don't hear from them, which is fine because I don't like talking to people. But then I just immediately in my mind cut the ties again. Like, I don't even know how to process being around the people that I want, which is that one sister that I want to be around, because she's just a reminder of a side that I don't feel like I belong. And I think that's really weird. Okay, so
that's why these situations should be real preventable, because, like, you're a product of something that should not have happened. And then when you get older, you get treated like you could have prevented it or avoided it when it was not even your fault at all. Like, don't treat a person that could not even control what happened or their destiny at the time. Like, why you're so mad at a child or a person now that she's an adult that had no control over the outcome of how she got here? It's very disappointing, disrespectful, and that's exactly why she had anxiety and panic attacks, because she was experiencing, like, people not wanting her, or like being around people that didn't like her. And she has a right to feel the way she feels, just like the wife have a right to feel the way she feels. The mother have a right to feel the way she feels. A man did something that he wasn't supposed to do and left this earth with other people having to deal with something that he chose to do and he caused. Because I don't even know if the mother even knew that he was married. But I know that she went a long time not telling her daughter that she was a product of, being a baby of a married man. Like, she didn't even know until she hit a certain age. So much mixed emotions she was going through, and nobody knows how that child even feels. Like, nobody ever asked, and people be so mean to these children that had no way of saying, I don't want to be here that way. Like, period.
I use this comment to make my response because you get it. Like, this is my story, y'all. And I don't have an isolated story, regardless of the rhetoric or what's going on in the comments. This is not an isolated story. People are now having language to emotions that they felt, whether they were a child of an affair, right? But then the difficulty is that people are now finding language to the feelings that they've been hiding for a lot of years. Whether you had infidelity in your marriage, whether, your relationship, whatever, there's a lot of stories that's being revealed in these comments. And that's why I'm trying to also extend grace, because my discernment is on point. So I'm reading a lot of things and I'm recognizing what it is behind that. Like, a lot of y'all are ugly. Like, you're carrying an ugly spirit, and I feel bad for you. And I'm not even being funny. Like, I feel bad for you because there's something that grief, anger, trauma, and disappointment will leave in you, and it shows up as hatred. Like, especially the comments that are attacking me. I don't care, but it just shows like what's inside of you. Like, that needs to be healed. And if me talking about my story exposes what's inside of you, so you know where to heal, I'm fine with that. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's so much. I'll say it is extremely hard to read some of the comments, especially because you are referring to somebody that I love. But I am far from dumb. I'm very emotionally intelligent. I am 36 years old. I've dealt a lot with grief. I've dealt a lot with trauma. I've dealt a lot with rejection. Like, this is not the beginning of me understanding what my life was, or what that situation was. This is me talking about it openly, which a lot of people don't do, again, because it's uncomfortable. And comments, you get what I'm saying? Like putting it out there and exposing something, making somebody is a villain in everybody's story.
Y'all, I am glad that she's sharing this story, give people opportunity of what the actual child feels in this situation, because a lot of people don't know, don't ask, and like people do intentionally treat that child like shit. And the child is dealing with all of this trauma and emotion and rejection, all because they was a product of something they had no control over, like at all. And I'm glad that she's sharing her story. For those people in the comment section, like, I understand that they're angry and upset at whatever part they play in a situation like this, but to comment on a person's post that had no control is disgusting. It's disgusting. It's tacky.
Right? I'm gonna clarify a few things real quick. One, I was not the only child that showed up at the funeral. It was 3 or 4 of us that showed up at the funeral. 2, the wife did not know about me. The wife simply knew her husband, and it was not far-fetched. It wasn't hard to put together after hearing certain rumors. You get what I'm saying? 3, the wife had no children with my father. My siblings are not from the wife. 2, wait, girl, first of all, I do read interventionist. I am not a mathematician. 3, I don't believe the point of going to the funeral was, A, I don't like being in a position to feel like, A, I'm putting words in her mouth, and B, having to tell her story. This is not her story. This is my story, and I don't want to do that. But I do also know that it was made aware that that would be an opportunity for me to meet my siblings. There was someone in communication with her to let her know, like, she needs to meet her siblings. It's a lot of them, and like I said, I was not the only one at the funeral. There was, I believe, 4 of us that popped up at the funeral. So this person, as well as like a few other people, was asking, like, how is my relationship with my mom? And my relationship with my mother is my relationship with my mom is in recovery. I'll say that. But I also will say, like, the people that are like gunning for me to hate her or whatever, it's almost like I see it as passing a baton for the villain, right? And I picture it in my mind as, if you can imagine, like, somebody that hurt you standing in front of you, right? And you're carrying a hurt and you want to blame somebody, so you pass the baton to that person, like, you own this, you hurt me, right? You're the reason for this hurt. But then that person turns around and they have to pass the baton to somebody else because they are carrying trauma from that. You get what I'm saying? And it goes on and on and on and on and on, and people don't understand generational curses. People don't understand, things that are passed down throughout families. But I look at my mom and I'm the only person that knows. And that's not making excuses for her at all. I don't have to make excuses for her, but I know if I am passing the baton to the villain, it will be a domino effect, especially as somebody who did not have parents, and she did the best she could, right? So I prefer to give her grace, because when I look at my mom, but that's with anybody, when I look at people, I don't see that person. Like, I see their heart, right? And that's why even in the videos I was explaining, like, people don't even have to talk to me. I can feel it. Like, I look at my mom and it will be the same thing as looking at a child that needs to be told they are worthy. You get what I'm saying? Like, a child that needs to be told that they are loved, a child that is dealing with rejection, or that's not just my mom, but that's how I'm able to extend grace. And like I said, that goes back to even in the comments, like I'm seeing people tell me I should have never been born, calling me all types of stuff, y'all. Like, some of them just trolling, but then some of them I'm looking at, especially clicking on her picture, like, I am so sorry they hurt you. And I'm not even being funny. Like, I'ma sound like it, but yo, I am so sorry somebody hurt you like that. And I'm sorry I reminded you of that trauma and that thing that you haven't dealt with. But I think what people fail to realize is I'm a child of God, for one. And with some of y'all, I'm a pray. Like, I swear I'm gonna ask God to take care of it. And I'm the type of person where I am learning how to, I tell God to take care of something, but then my mouth go ahead and shoot off. And he's like, wait, so do you want me to take care of it, or are you gonna take care of it yourself? I'm gonna let God take care of it. And I'm not even gonna, I don't even want him to take care of it in a way that you would expect. Like, it ain't even that. I want him to take care of it in a way that shows you, and exposes to you the parts of you that you need to be healed, because there's no reason for somebody to walk around with that type of hurt that turns into that type of hate towards somebody you don't even know. Like, the stuff that y'all are saying to me is crazy, right? But I can handle that. I don't care. Like I said, the hardest part of this whole experience is just seeing like what they're saying about my mom. But yeah.
Okay, so let's be clear. She did not make this choice. It was not her choice. It was her parents' choice. Her mother and father decided to sleep together, create a baby, have this baby, allow this baby to grow up knowing the position this baby will be in. Once people realize that she came here on this earth in a messy, sticky situation. The adults in this situation made it hard for a child to feel loved, wanted, and not rejected. Like, they failed her in this situation, all because of something she had no control over. Now, of course, her and her mother relationship is kind of rocky, because the stuff that she learned just put her in a space where it made her feel some type of way, probably, right? And she do resent her mother for putting her in situations that she knew was not right, like taking her and leaving her at these people's house, and kind of seemed like she was forcing her to go. I wouldn't say forced, because she never told her mother exactly how she felt about going to these people or what they were saying behind, her mother's back. But her mother was allowing her to go somewhere that she knew was messy as all get out. That uncle was wrong because she was a child. And, sir, that was your brother. Why are you so mad? Like, why are you so mad? Why you didn't bring this about when your brother was alive and tell him how wrong he was for stepping outside of his marriage? And you guys, also, the whole time I thought that these other kids that felt some type of way was the wife children, but come to find out she ain't have no kids. So imagine her being in a situation where her husband is a nonstop serial cheater, creating all these children in their marriage, and she's a product of the hurt that this wife had to go through, because this wife had no biological children by this man. She had no children. So imagine you not having any kids or giving your husband children, and seeing these children at his funeral that are not biologically yours. Like, it just reminds her of her husband stepping out and how she was loyal, but her husband was out creeping with all these different women. So imagine her hurt, but also imagine the hurt that this child had to endure because of the choices her mother and biological father made. And he was able to check out of this situation and leave all his skeletons in the closet behind. Like, this situation was messy. Those people in the comment section, some of them are hurt because this was their mother being like hurt by their dad, or their stepfathers, the same way that this man hurt his wife, right? And then you got people that are these people children that are hurt because daddy stepped out on mommy, right? And then you have people that don't condone stuff like that, that don't like her mother because of the choice that her mother not only made, but made with a man that is now deceased. But that does not give them a right to be in her comment section talking messy and nasty to her. This is not her fault. Let me make this clear. This is not her fault. She did not choose to be here. And all this stuff where people was treating her wrong, it was messy. It was weird. And like, y'all was grown. Y'all should have known better. You guys, drop in the comment section what you think about this story. Don't forget to like, comment, and definitely subscribe. You guys have a blessed day. Peace.